All right, Miles, let's talk Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They find themselves in the news as the spring campaigns are winding down. Teams are evaluating all positions. And of course, a huge position of interest for Notre Dame this offseason is none other than the quarterback position. And we have a very interesting update about a potential new direction this competition, or position grouping, I should say, will turn.
Yeah, Nick. And speaking of quarterbacks, Notre Dame had a lot of good ones in the past. And that's why I want to ask the question today. Who has been your favorite Notre Dame quarterback of all time? A lot of good answers here, but let us know in the comments below who's been your favorite Notre Dame quarterback of all time. But Nick, nonetheless, let's get into it. I want to hear all about this Notre Dame quarterback battle.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Obviously, when Notre Dame pulled off the transfer coup of the offseason, I thought getting Hartman to transfer up to South Bend, I thought he was going to be a day one, just immediately dominate and took over this program. Tyler Buchner was going to be resorted to more of a backup role, maybe even potentially transfer out. It doesn't seem if that's the case, if you listen to this, according to Brian Driscoll over at Irish Breakdown, if you want to go ahead and throw up the report, Mice, kind of detailing, this is Driscoll's thoughts evaluating spring ball from a Notre Dame perspective. I'm just going to read from the report here. One thing that has stood out to me, again, Driscoll talking here, during open practices is how deep the Fighting Irish are at quarterback, with multiple players showing impressive talent at different points. Right now, transfer Sam Hartman and rising junior Tyler Buchner are engaged in a battle for the starting role. Miles, I think it's very interesting because, like I said, a lot of people assumed that Hartman would come in and just take it over day one. It looks like Buchner's not giving this up. It seems he's going in for a real fight here, a really interesting competition. The report goes on to say Hartman is making the adjustment to a new offense and new teammates, but he's shown the tools that help make him the NCAA's 19th all-time leader in passing yards and 18th all-time leader in passing touchdowns. Buchner is showing the talent and playmaking ability that made him a top 100 recruit and a player Irish fans were fired up about when he signed with the program. All right, Miles, I think this is kind of like one of those weird stories, but I think it's actually really good news for Notre Dame because I think a lot of people really had high hopes for Hartman going into the spring campaign, that he would come in and be the answer to everything they ever wanted at quarterback. And I think he eventually will grow into just being an elite level guy. This is a new scheme, new offense, new situation. Of course, he was very familiar in his old dig, so it's going to be kind of a transition for him. But I'm more excited in the fact that Tyler Buchner is taking big leaps and looks to be growing into the high level prospect that a lot of people thought he could be as well. And this is always a good situation you want to be in. You always want to have a full-throated quarterback competition. I think the entire offseason, because anytime you have change, which the Notre Dame obviously does, and moving off of Reese to obviously left, he went to Alabama. So new offensive structure, new different dynamic, how that's going to fold. You always want to have some open competition to see who wins out, see who takes advantage of the opportunities. I still like Hartman to win this out in the end, but I'm excited to see if Buchner can pull actually a surprise here and potentially be the starter going into week one. Give me your thoughts on the Notre Dame situation here at quarterback and everything with this program right now.
Yeah, Nick, I think this is a really interesting article. I think the topic is very interesting, but I think if we dissect it, it isn't that uncommon to think something like this. Obviously, new guy, new system. There's going to be a little bit of a hurdle. Hartman is going to have some bumps in the road learning the new system. He's going to come off day one and immediately know everything. Then you have a guy, longtime guy in the system, has known it for a while now. But I don't think we need to take negatives on either side here. It could be possible that both of these guys are just good. As we said, Hartman has plenty of NCAA talent. He is, highly touted in passing yards and passing touchdown department. He was very, very effective at Wake Forest. And then you look at Buchner coming out of high school. He was a really high level recruit. As I said, top 100 recruit. So they both have talent in their own right. And I think it's good no matter what happens here that there's a battle between two high-level guys. I think Hartman is going to win. He is the bigger I'd say he has better odds to win this quarterback battle. It's no given, but he has all the tools. He has all of the proven talent in the past to win at an NCAA level. So I think he's going to win. But I do like that there is some fight from Buchner. I think that shows, that he cares. He wants to be here. And if anything, Notre Dame feels good. They have an extremely capable backup quarterback who has looked good in spring training, no matter who that is going to be. But I'm excited. I want to see who opens. I believe Notre Dame this year, I think they play in Dublin again for the first game of the season. So that's going to be exciting as well. But I want to see who opens up the season, and I think that we're going to see Hartman that first game of the season.
I agree with you, Miles, but it's not unheard of to have these transfer guys with slow starts. You look at South Carolina with Spencer Rattler, of course, transferring to Oklahoma. If you look at his game log when he started for South Carolina early in the season, he was terrible. His QBR game by game going week one on down 24, 47, 24, 27, 48. It was bad. But if you look at his last 3 games, 69, 70, 98, much better. Obviously went from below average to well above average. And sometimes it just takes time. It's a new environment, new receivers, new school, new bearings, new coaches, all that kind of stuff. It just takes time. And you don't want to be, if you're a program like Notre Dame, who your standards are the highest, you're competing hopefully for a college football playoff berth. You don't want to have to go through growing pains potentially if it takes Hartman too long to develop and get ready. And having an experienced guy like Buckner to have the ability, if he's improving, to step up and carry the team potentially overstretches if Hartman struggles catching up to the news, catching up with the transition, I think will be huge for Notre Dame, just to make sure they don't have any dumb early season slip-ups, kind of like they had last year. Notre Dame kind of struggled out of the gate, and that obviously had ramifications for them the rest of the way. They want to avoid that, obviously, going to 2023. So I think if there are any issues with Hartman, having a guy like Buckner, a guy who can kind of bridge that gap, who has the talent and knows the offense and situation and all that as well, could be huge, again, to avoid those early season struggles, to make sure they get off to a really good start.